Good evening, everyone. Welcome to day 6 of V for Drones webinar series. This unique webinar series is aimed at bringing the drone education to schools so that our children, our future generation, can start educating themselves in the drone skills. To do this, we have an enormous support from Electronic Sector Skills Council of India. And over the last 5 days, we have spoken on various aspects about the drone ecosystem for education in India. We started with the why of it, then the how, and then we spoke about the safety and the security, and then we also spoke about how do you educate the educators into coming this entire thing. Today we'll be talking about something which our Prime Minister really believes in, and that's something towards Atmanirbharta. What do you mean by that is self-reliance and self-dependency. If you have to talk about self-dependency in the drone sector, what does it look like? What do you mean by that? And to talk about all of these things, today we have panelists with us from various sectors. So first we will be having Preeti Tyagi. Preeti Tyagi ma'am is from Drone Application Research Center in Dehradun. She'll be sharing her vision at DARC and how the government of Uttarakhand is probably looking at educating and empowering the youth in the state. Next, we'll be having Shrikant Thakkar from Ernst & Young, who will be talking to us about a broader sense of the drone ecosystem and the vision of EY in empowering the youth as well. And last, we will be having N.K. Mohapatra, the CEO of Electronic Sector Skills Council of India, who will be sharing his vision about developing the vocational skills pan-India through their programs. So let's start the session today. And the first speaker of the day is Preeti Tyagi. Preeti ma'am, I really request you to unmute yourself and put on your video. And you are now live. Ma'am, can I request you to just step your camera a little away from your face? Yes, perfect.
It's okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Preeti Tyagi from Drone. I'm Head Drone Application and Research Center, Dehradun. Drone Application and Research Center was established with the intent to promote and nurture research and development in the field of drone technology. So here we have got our role is twofold. One is training all the government officials, and the other part is helping them to make informed decision regarding drone technology, so that we have got an effective integration of this using drones. And another thing that we do is we are into research and development in the field of drone technology. So it's a good thing. So we decided that we need to take this drone technology to every institutions and start let the youngsters be involved in this, in making of drones and teaching them about drones. Since we have a lot of passionate youngsters who have got passion for technology, so this drones can be this drone can be a field where they can pursue their passion for technology. Another thing I feel is a very good initiative, and I'm happy that there are so many schools and colleges that are interested in promoting this drone technology. So that's a really good thing. And drones, if we say, it's nothing but an aerial vehicle without a pilot on board. Just to give a brief idea, pilot is somewhere else who's flying that aerial vehicle. Now this DGCA has categorized drones on the basis of its weight. Like there are different categories of drones. Drones are from few grams to a ton. It's in ton. The military drones are weighing tons in tons. Then everyone has seen that Uri movie where it's an ornithopter drone is used. So drones, the beauty of drones is that it can reach inaccessible areas where we or a human being, it's difficult for human being to reach, drones can reach there. That's the main beauty of drones. And definitely I feel that if we start this, if we promote this at a school level, so it will be very interesting for students also. Definitely we have seen many students making paper aeroplanes. So just using technology, using science to make the same plane in such a way that it flies a distance. So that will be really interesting. and students get a lot to learn. Especially, they can apply whatever they've learned in maths and whatever they have learned in physics, laws of physics. They can actually apply it in real world, like proportional relationships that they have learned in maths. They can actually apply it in while making of drones. And here, there's a small misconception, since most of y'all are seeing drones and during marriage functions or any function, coverage is done by drones. So if when we say drones, that multi-copter, quadcopter comes into mind. But actually, there are many variety of drones, like fixed wing drones are there, multi-copter drones are there, hybrid drones are there, ornithopter drone. Fixed wing is, it looks like a plane. That is fixed wing drones. And there's a multi-copter drones. It's got rotors which are through which the drones are flying. That's multi-copter drones. Then hybrid drones are there, which are combination of fixed wing drones and multi-copter drones. And then there is ornithopters. That's uses the wing motion of a bird to fly, that which we have seen in Uri. So definitely, like in this, when we say drone technology in schools and colleges, so they can actually apply what they have learned in physics, what they are learning in maths, and to build up a drone. Now, when we say drone, again there are many different areas. One is making of drone, where you make a drone. Another thing is making drones smarter using artificial intelligence. So there I've seen many students, they are very much interested in artificial intelligence, so they can apply that knowledge to make drones smarter, like be it object identification, vehicle number plate recognition. So a lot of this is a lot of areas are there where artificial intelligence can be applied, and we can make drones more smarter. Then other things are they, another third option is like data processing. Whatever data is captured by drones, that can be processed in a better manner, and we can extract more information from the data captured. So a lot of fields are there where students of different aptitude and different choices or interest can take part in this. And when we say this government of Uttarakhand, already in Uttarakhand, we are including drone technology in as a subject for polytechnic students. So all the polytechnic students will be learning UAV technology as a subject, and there's a lot of scope in this subject, and this is gaining more and more importance because of now if you have seen in COVID-19 situation also, drones have played a very important role, be it for monitoring or spraying sanitizer. Even when there was a problem, there's a problem of locust, again drones are playing a very important role in that too, in control of locust. So drone technology is gaining importance, gaining more and more people are getting interested in this field. So definitely, and if we start at the school level, so by the time say in 7th standard or 8th standard, so by the time students come in 11th and 12th, they'll be able to make a drone, and they'll be able to fly a drone. Flying drone is another one area, like where really you need good motor skills and good hand-eye coordination. And drone pilot training is also there, which students can take. Of course, there's an age restriction on it, but still, this another drone flying area is another area where you can work on. So there are a lot of opportunities and a lot of areas. So students with different interests can take part. Many feel together, can come together. It is an interdisciplinary drone is an interdisciplinary technology. You can say people, students from interdiscipline can come together to make one drone. So that's all from my side, and definitely I would like my vision is that each and every school and each and every colleges in India should be aware about drone technology and should take part in it. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Preeti ma'am. We would come back to you for question and answers.
Yeah.
But before that, Just give me a minute. I'll just switch my user.
I got through it.
Okay.
Don't worry. Yes, ma'am.
Ruchi, you're on mute.
Yeah, I know. Just hold on, please.
Yeah.
I request everyone to please mute yourself before we begin the next part of our panel discussion, and also to put your videos off so that the focus remains on the speaker. Thank you so much. So next on a panel discussion, we have Shrikant Thakkar from Ernst & Young. Shrikant, welcome to this webinar series, and I request you to please unmute yourself, show your video, and if you have a presentation, you can start putting it up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ruchi. Good evening, everybody. My name is Shrikant Thakkar, and I represent the Drone Center of Excellence at Ernst & Young. So Ernst & Young is one of the big four consulting organizations, and we've set up an entire center of excellence basically to help our clients adopt this technology in a lot more systematic way as compared to just buying a drone and starting to fly and trying to see figuring out what is happening and what is not. So before I actually get into the details of what I think I have thought about or I wanted to put together. I wanted to draw some things from what Preeti ma'am just talked about. So what she meant is basically drones are those machines which bring together a lot of disciplines, right? So that's where even I would like to put emphasis on. So if you were to actually deconstruct a drone, right? So while we would always talk of, get awed by the whole flying machine, what all it can do, where all it can go. But if you were to actually deconstruct a drone, what you will see is all these disciplines like mechanical engineering, electronics, optics, and so on, these actually being brought together and working in such beautiful and synchronous manner that it actually creates this whole innovation called drone, right? So if you were to actually see the propellers, the motors, how they rotate, the whole structural frame, what we typically call airframe, the way it operates, the way it is supposed to be made light and things like that, that all is included into the mechanical engineering aspect of it, right? Then we have the motors, the batteries, the ESCs, the electronic speed controllers, and everything. The motherboard itself, the controlling entity of the whole drone. That is very, very core electronics which go into it. We talk of signals coming from drones or being passed on to drones, data coming in, pictures being taken, a lot of other things being done by what we call typically the payload or the sensor that we attach to the drone. So all that is possible with higher applications of communication engineering after all, right? Today, we see a lot of pictures being taken, a whole branch of mapping called photogrammetry being supported. Photogrammetry earlier used to be done on satellite imagery, now being supported by drones. So a whole set of optics and the knowledge of light and imagery comes into picture. Then we have an entire set of software programming which is required, be it the embedded programming within the drone itself, that's the hardware embedded, or the whole software which is running the drone, the controlling the drone, and so on. So all that requires a deep knowledge of software programming. If you were to actually look at the applications of drone, what it does, fundamentally what it does is collects a lot of data and sends it back, right? Besides, of course, deliveries and all, which we are yet to see practical applications in India yet, but it collects a lot of data. So your whole field of data science comes alive when you actually have to figure out the kind of data that is collected, the kind of insights, intelligent analytics that the data would actually bring out. So data science is an important part of drones. Similarly is AI. We hear a lot about AI these days. We say that AI is being deployed for everything from space and defense right up to even probably we see likes of Alexas and Google assistants being powered by AI. So drones are also having that capability of being powered by AI in terms of being able to automatically detect and avoid obstacles and so on and so forth. So all these branches, all these vocations, all these subjects coming together is what makes drone the beauty that it is, right? So if you were to actually look at what you all are studying, or the educators who are here who are actually imparting these knowledge to the high school students. So fundamentals of all these engineering, science, technology, sometimes even maths and statistics, all go into actually seeing the end product that is drone as we see it today. So that's where we need to actually appreciate that these smaller parts of what we call as drone come from these fundamental levels of maths, physics, even chemistry in some cases, and the other subjects that we study in school today. What I would like to draw you towards is, as we look at it, as probably a lot of you would have imagined, the future of drone operating environment. So what you see on the screen right now is much beyond what we see drones operating today as flying objects which capture some beautiful videos and things like that, right? So we have drone bots on the left-hand side, which are actually taking care of some cleaning of the facades of the buildings. You have traffic drones being operated by the police, by the security agencies to actually see how the traffic is going, also doing a surveillance of the people going around and keeping the security and the safety of the place in place. Then we are seeing also air taxis. Air taxis are a reality. They are no more a part of the science fiction, where you're talking of unmanned aerial vehicles being deployed for ferrying people from place A to place B. We're also seeing delivery drones flying around and delivery docks for various e-commerce and say hospital or vaccines or so and so. I mean, a lot of these things being transported aerially. And then, so while these are the machines that is there that are visible to us, then there is a whole infrastructure that goes beyond it, right? So we have drone ports that will be there for the landing, similar to airports. There'll be landing places and takeoff places for the drone ports. There will be delivery docks which will actually take the delivery of something that is coming from an Amazon or even medicines being delivered and so on and so forth. We'll have 5G operational in the country soon, and that's when we will actually see navigation mesh of 5G equipment which will be carrying signals for control of the drones as well as data to bring back, be it photographs, be it videos, whatsoever it is, back to the ground controls. And then if you actually imagine so many hundreds and thousands of drones flying in the air, plus your manned aviation, which is your aircraft, helicopters, everything putting together. So then you need some fair amount of control happening over there. So there you have unmanned traffic management control tower and the whole communication system beyond what you see as pure control tower that is powering all this. So this entire ecosystem, as we call it, will actually bring about what we would see or what you see right now as a drone operating environment. So just quickly, I would like to run you across what a drone ecosystem is like. What we've probably seen so far is saying that, okay, drone is a piece of hardware with, whether it is a fixed wing drone or a multi-rotor drone, having some rotors, some wings, some, control surfaces and so on. But besides that, it also has a ground control station, which does the controlling and the manipulation of the drone as we see it. But there's a whole lot of other ecosystem players or ecosystem businesses, ecosystem trades, which are there, which will get on the back of these drones, right? So you have computer vision and navigation. So drone technology, as we go further, is going to be more and more autonomous. It will be multiple drones being flown by a single operator, or probably no operator at all, and drone is autonomous completely on its own. So there will be computer vision requirement, there will be artificial intelligence requirement to navigate drones around. Then there are payloads. Payloads are basically what work that the drones do is done by the payloads, whether it is capturing images, whether it's delivering something, whether it is taking some kind of sensor, environmental data, so on and so forth. So all those payloads are an ecosystem by themselves. I mean, I know of companies who have interoperable payloads, at least 6 to 8 payloads on a single drone, right? So that is a business in itself. You have a lot of data processing and analytics which happens. So much of data that comes in, analysis of that data. So data science, as I said earlier, that is there. Then there are multiple service providers which are actually providing services, not necessarily of say assembling a drone or manufacturing a drone, but also operating a drone, doing data processing as a service, providing cloud infrastructure as service. So there's this whole gamut of service providers which will either be powered by drones or they will power drones. It's a both way thing. That's why it is called an ecosystem. You'll have training requirements coming up. You'll have to train operators. You'll have to train data processors. You'll have to train data scientists. So all those training things will come into picture. Looking at from an operational perspective, there'll be insurances required. Like we have insurance for a car, you have insurance for a motorbike. You'll require insurance for drones operating as well, because they're a system that can ultimately fail and can have the potential of creating damage. So insurance is a must. You'll have unmanned traffic management providers. So just the way today you see air traffic controls on airports, similarly, there'll be UTM providers which will be providing UTM traffic management services for drones as well. Then, of course, like I said, all these things have a risk potential as well. All technologies, they are dual-edged swords, so they have a risk potential. There's always a way. Something that can carry a Coke can or a pizza can also carry some explosives. So anti-drone systems are going to be something which will be deployed so that your infrastructure is safe, your critical buildings are safe, your airports are safe. So anti-drone system is a part of the ecosystem as well. Then if you were to actually look at combining all these things together, you will require system integrators, you will require engineering companies, you will require consulting companies, you will require market research companies. So all these commercial activities would also be embedded over and above the core technology activities as well. So this is the kind of ecosystem that is open or is opening up for students who are in high school today. My understanding is it will take them about 5 to 7 years before they get into say something professional in their lives, and that's when all these things, ecosystem players, will be ripe and open for them to consider. But like what I said is, you need to actually have a background of all these branches, if not detailed one to start with, because I'm sure you will be taking your own time to decide what you want to do. But like an understanding of all these things put together and how they work together to be able to actually visualize and imagine that how a drone ecosystem would work. So here now is the time to look at specifics of all these systems around you, and then probably pick at the right time what you actually want to do with the drone system, right? Besides that, one of the things that I would also want to add is, when we are talking of, drones making somebody self-reliant, bringing in resilience, so it's not just going to be the knowledge that you will gain, the general science knowledge that you will pick up from your schools, the vocational education, the vocational training that you may pick going further, that alone is not going to be sufficient. What requires to be done is also to develop an attitude and build character, right? So these are some of the things that need to be brought earlier on into life, and which is why I'm bringing up in this platform. So while we are talking to going further, high school students, we are talking to educators who are dealing with these high school students. Actually, building up attitude or bringing on attitude and building up characters needs to start as early as that, so that that resilience starts building up. Resilience is again a mix of a bunch of these things put together. Knowledge, attitude, character, they all need to come together for a human being to be resilient, whether it is in drone ecosystem or anywhere else. But drones, of course, for sure, because it's a technology which is changing very fast. So resilience has to be very strong, right? And self-reliance, of course, everybody looks at being self-reliant by themselves, including our nation, where we talk of Atmanirbhar Bharat and stuff. So all these things will need to be put together for the whole drone ecosystem to bring that self-reliance and resilience in a human being. Well, these are my thoughts so far. Happy to take questions and anything else from here on. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Shrikant. I also request our audience which is watching us live, please share your questions and your concerns and your comments with us so that we can put up to our panelists. And I request Mr. N.K. Mohapatra, the CEO of Electronic Sector Skills Council of India. Good evening, sir. I welcome you to our webinar series.
Thank you. I'm audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, good to be into this discussions which is going on. We are very new to this, but I will explain you what we do and what we want to do around this. We are part of Ministry of Skill Development. We are responsible for looking at outcome-based skill training, which is very short-term, which will help either a educated or an uneducated person to get into some working life experience. And it's a short-term intervention of training, which is mostly job-oriented or livelihood-oriented. And we look at typically trainings below 300, 400, 500 hours. This is what we do. And in electronics, there are so many opportunities for people to get employment or livelihood-oriented work. We do a lot of this. Also, we look at campus, how people can get better employed with campus degrees rather than getting into typical IT jobs or getting... in India, typically there is an underemployment scenario, which we are trying to solve by making sure the engineers do core engineering jobs and get better values and better utilization by doing something rather than underdoing what they learn. Normally, what we study and what we do, there is a lot of underutilization in the country, so we work pretty hard on this as well. But drone is a very good thing. We are very new to this. We learned this very recently, and we are thinking what to do, what to contribute. Fortunately, in last 6 months, we have met fairly good number of companies and people, and we are getting very interested in this. And we feel drone is going to catch up pretty big, like what we saw from EY slides. It's a multidisciplinary work, and it will catch up pretty fast, and it needs a very careful approach on capacity building. If we don't do the capacity building, it will not catch up very good. And it is a bit late for the academic system to pick it up as a curriculum or course anywhere. So yes, the short-term vocational training like us need to handle this very delicately and very appropriately so that we don't have the crunch of capacity building shortages in the country. And we feel our role will be very critical. And we are looking at this capacity building perspective. How do we get people enthusiastic towards learning drones, playing with drones, and learn while you play so that you are able to be a resource useful to the country tomorrow when drones really get into mass activity or more and more activities. Yes, drone is a very controlled environment. There are a lot of regulation aspects necessary. Those are very complicated things. But for the time being, let us look at the school and the enthusiasts and the young people who want to be around drones. We would like to teach them the basics like how do you assemble it, how do you play with it, how do you program it. So these things will create enthusiasm in students, and it is not a full-fledged professional drone engineer or application or operation guy. It will need far more intervention slowly in life, but we will like to get the early intervention so people get interested into this. So from school level, we feel catching them young, showing them interest, because young people are very explorative. They like to experiment and learn things faster than compared to anybody else. Till it gets into a structured curriculum in a bigger environment like diploma or degree colleges. In this short-term intervention, we'd like to touch school and young students to teach them as much as possible so they catch up this drone knowledge and it's delivered to society for some respectable way. And people create more awareness and more learning. This is what we can do at this stage. And I also appreciate few knowledge partners starting from Drone Research Academy, Dehradun, Throttle Aerospace, Idea Force, Popul Technology, and Care Robotics. All these people they have interacted in last 4, 5, 6 months has given us a lot of knowledge, and we are here to structure curriculum, content, and everything. And all experts who are willing to help us and support us in doing this are most welcome. And we are keen to get into this space in a very systematic way. And we are damn sure this will help the country in the long term. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hello.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for some questions from the live audience. Meanwhile, I would
Yeah.
have some questions for all of you.
Yeah.
I request all the panelists to please put on your videos.
Okay. Hello.
Great. Nice to see everyone on the same page now. Thank you so much. So I have some starting questions. We're talking about skill development and vocational training at a national level. So maybe one of you can tell me, how do we begin? Do we go from bottom above or we go from top bottom? What would be a better approach? So starting from a national government level, do we start like that? Or we start with schools first and then we go up? What would be a more preferable way? Just taking your suggestions and your ideas about it.
Who can say that? I can say a few things. Can I?
Yes, sir.
It's not that we do one. I feel we should do both. In school level, the people are very keen to learn. So it's create awareness in school. We don't know how many people of that percentage of the people we touch in school will choose this as a profession. Because choosing a profession is not an easy thing in India. Because all our parents force us to be a medical or an engineer first, then choose a vocational profession. So the scenario of society will change with respect to time. So we do not expect people to make this a early career choice. So there is a difficulty. So in school level, we can experiment this for creating awareness, let more people learn and experience. But into a diploma and ITI level or post-diploma and ITI level, not the engineering level. Engineering level is yet to catch up because there is no curriculum content in a university which is giving you a drone-related career option for you to choose. So in this diploma ITIs, you can do this as finishing school. Those who want to take it up as a career beyond their ITI and diplomas, we can do that first. But school, critical mass is in the school. So we can touch more people and expect 10% of them are towards us going forward in life should work. That's my feeling.
Okay.
Ruchi ma'am can say something.
Sorry?
Somebody else can comment on this as well. But this is my feel. What I feel is should be the right way.
Sure. Preeti ma'am, what would you feel? I mean, how is the state government of Uttarakhand taking it? Like state government is somewhere between the national government and the local government and the schools, so they hold a mid position in the entire value chain. So what do you think? I mean, what would be a nice way of doing, and what kind of hand holding can government offer schools as well as training partners in this?
Actually, government of Uttarakhand, like I said, they are in the process of putting it as a curriculum for polytechnic students. So polytechnic students will be learning this as a subject. I think they are at the right age to learn it. And we can start it with the school also, like they can learn basic. See, there's no limit to learning, and you can always go on putting new features, good features. And so basic drone learning, basic about drones, and making basic drone can be learned at school level. And then as they grow, of course, they can learn about more and more technology, making drones smarter. And definitely, if they start at the school level, by the time they finish college and by the time they finish their studies, they'll be making very high tech and state of the art drones,
Great.
including more and more technology. So here in Uttarakhand, we have included it as a curriculum for polytechnic. We are in the process of including it in curriculum for polytechnic students.
And what about funding? Are we looking at government-based funding, or we're looking at from out-of-pocket expenditure from the students' families, or are we looking at some CSR, or what should be the kind of roadmap that we can be thinking about?
No, actually, ma'am, I'm not the right person to answer this about funding because I'm more involved in making of curriculum for the polytechnic students and all. So I'm into this practical aspects of training the teachers and making the teachers aware of it so that this knowledge passes on to all the students. Already we have trained more than 100 polytechnic students in Uttarakhand.
Okay. So anybody else would like to answer this question of funding, because funding is going to be a critical resource that we would be looking at.
So I'll take that, Ruchi. See, there are two aspects. I'll first step back and look at the way you said whether it has to start top down or bottom up. And I agree with Sir when he says that it has to be both. And the way we would look at it, if you are looking at it from an outside consultant, is to say that government on their part have to create enough demand. Because today also, if you see the way we look at the drone ecosystem in India, the privates are yet to catch up. That's for a variety of reasons, regulations, adoption, all those reasons are there. That is one part. But in spite of all the challenges that the private sector is facing, government is doing all those things that are required to create that demand, and probably they can still do more as well. And today, government is spending the maximum on the drone programs as we see. Whether it is the Survey of India, whether it is the railways, whether it is some of these ministries in mining, power, and so on and so forth. So what they can do on their part is to create that demand. The rest of it will follow. The whole ecosystem will follow in place, right? And then when we talk of from bottoms up, of course, schools on their part, they're already setting up, these labs, tinkering labs, whether they are under the Atal Innovation Mission, all those labs. So there they have drones, whether they are small ones or something is fine. But at least they're getting to tinker with the drones, start feeling, touching, experimenting, figuring out what can do what are the sensors, what are the motors, propellers, the coding part of it, the embedded software, so on and so forth. So it has to start at both ends, and market will then decide where those both ends could meet. But government probably has to start with creating demand. Schools and the other ecosystem players, educators, they have to put in that scientific mindset to be able to tinker with something like a drone, and then both would meet. And so long as the funding goes, like I said, for schools and educators, there are already programs that we have, like the Atal Innovation Mission, where the government is funding setting up of laboratories in schools, right? So I'm sure those can as well be taken up for specific drone related projects. Besides that, if we go a little higher, say if we move on from schools to something beyond professional colleges, because professional colleges somewhere have very limited scope of funding by the very nature of our education system. But if we go a little beyond that, when we talk of research, R&D and so on and so forth, even the Ministry of Civil Aviation is setting up a fund it's called the Disha Fund, to actually pick out the right ideas from within the drone sector, to cultivate them and to incubate them and take them further. So that side also government funds are available. Besides that, I have seen a lot of R&D spends of private organizations being allocated to drones. Right? I've personally managed a couple of drone programs of some of these agri companies, where they're looking at how to use drones and development of sprayers and so on and so forth, drone-enabled sprayers and so on and so forth, for them to be able to, of course, sell their product better. But they're still doing that spend on the R&D as well. So funds are available. Yes, of course. More funds, the better it is, because then it makes the whole innovation process very, very democratic. And it doesn't get like strangled because of paucity of funds. But funds are there, whether it is from the government, from within the institutions as a part of government grant or from private institutions as well.
Great. Thanks, Shrikant. Maybe Mohapatra sir could explain about, give some idea about the partnership ecosystem that ESSCI is building up. So, what kind of key stakeholders are we partnering with, and what could be expected? Let's say if somebody is a drone service provider, how can they get involved in it? Or let's say somebody is just a primary school in one of the villages. Now, so what kind of relationships are we thinking of building so that the ultimate goal of resilience in the community is set in as far as drones are concerned?
Okay, so it's little beyond what Srikant said. He is almost right in whatever he said, but I will tell you what our challenge being in government is. Sometime we try to certify a curriculum, then supply side gets after it in overdoing it beyond the demand side, which government is not able to control. Suppose there is a demand of 1,000 people and I approve a curriculum and 1 lakh people get trained. Then we lose government money of 1 lakh people and underutilization of 90,000 people for 10,000 requirement. So this is a situation which is not getting managed by government so far. We have not found any clues. The government money is always spent on supply side very nicely. We want the government money to be spent on demand side. I am myself struggling with the government to make sure how the money is exactly spent on demand side. So if the demand side, whether an operator is getting a contract, like so many official contracts, railway, mining, this, that applications, if those demands come to us correctly, we can ensure for those demands the money is not a shortage. In fact, money is getting misutilized or overutilized on wrong quantities, then we get into problem in answering questions. But if there is genuine requirements, the money can be genuinely spent for training without any purpose. What we are looking for is money to be spent for training has to earn a livelihood or a job. If you can guarantee me these two, I will not give you any shortage of money towards the requirement of training. So government is very clear, but to implement this is very complex. So once we build capacity building, we do training partner, we do this, that man will try to train 10,000 people even if there is only 1,000 requirement. So that gets into a problem. So there is no shortage. But school, yes, what he said, we cannot be training school people for jobs. So we are creating school people for awareness. So we should look at fund from other sources like Adult Tinkering Lab or somebody else, where school has the capacity to train people for experience. But when you are meaning jobs like what Madam is saying for polytechnics, we can fund those guys for training, because if it is leading to a job, we can guarantee the training money is made available. So either it is a manufacturer or an operator, if they can define their expectations of guaranteed jobs, we can also guarantee the training money. There is no catch in this.
Shrikant, what do you think? I mean, is the job market looking promising ahead?
See, I'll tell you what. I mean, that's probably my personal view. But if you were to look at it if you were to look at drones, ultimately, if you see where the job market is, if it's in manufacturing, it's about core electronics on one side. So manufacturing is as a machine, it's an electronic machine, right? Dominated electronic machine, right? Unless we do innovation, that demand is difficult to come, because today we are a lot dependent on imports, and there is a whole raging argument going on what we should do on manufacturing, how we should tackle our neighboring countries who are pushing low cost and low quality goods into our country, and so on and so forth. So that's aside. But unless we do that innovation, unless we focus on innovation, and Indian companies per se, it's not the job of individuals, the production managers, or even the production line people, but it's the manager. It's the job of the R&D and the CEOs to focus on innovation and then bring production into India, and that's when jobs will be created. That's the first thing. Secondly, if you were to look at R&D, yes, R&D has a lot of scope in India, and we are also seeing a lot of R&D labs being set up. Multinational corporations are setting up R&D labs. Whole campus, large campi in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and such cities are being dedicated by these large multinational corporations to actually doing R&D. Applied R&D on various electronics and other items. So drones, I'm sure, is not way far. I am personally aware of a large drone company outsourcing its R&D efforts to India. Trust me, it's very surprising. It's a US corporation which is outsourcing its R&D work to India, but we are not doing it by ourselves. Nevertheless, it is employing people. It's creating demand on that side. Third thing, from an operations perspective, it's a very limited time frame that we have for drone operations to be actually generating a lot of jobs. Right, the pace at which autonomy is going, even cars, the pace at which autonomy is going, I don't see drone operators' jobs being there in the market at all after maybe 7 to 8 years. There will be a lot of autonomy. So that is a window. I'm not saying it's not there today. Today, it's quite alive and kicking the whole job market for operating drones. But if we are looking at 7 to 8 years, our audience is high school students, educators who are in that gap. And like I said, they have to look at 8 years hence. That's when operators market will be quite small. So that demand will not be there. So this is what my take is. So we'll have to look at innovation and manufacturing as the drivers for job creation or demand, as sir is talking about, to be able to actually get there.
Yeah, I would like to answer this about like government of Uttarakhand is really interested and taking a lot of steps to make Uttarakhand as a drone hub of India. Like we have got Drone Application Research Center, that's a government of India, and then Software Technology Park of India is also making a center of excellence for drones in Dehradun, and we are even making a drone park in Uttarakhand, so that we can invite companies, and we really want to build an entire ecosystem in Uttarakhand, drone ecosystem in Uttarakhand. So we have invited a lot of companies, be it manufacturing companies or service providers and all, to establish their industries in Uttarakhand and make it a drone hub of India. So government is taking a lot of steps in that direction, and also here at least I can tell in Uttarakhand, most of the government organizations, be it forest department and be it fire department, most of the SDR, they are using drones extensively. So here there's a need for drone the students who know drone, who can work with drone. So that's why we thought of training polytechnic students, so that you have that pool of talent. We want to create a pool of talent also.
That's amazing, ma'am. And I really hope states like Uttarakhand, Telangana, they kind of become the benchmarks for the entire country and for rest of the state governments to follow. I really look forward to that. And I think with the cooperation with organizations like ESSCI, yesterday we had ESSCI also speak about it, and with the support of organizations like Ernst& Young and World Economic Forum, I'm sure that we'll be definitely able to build this entire ecosystem in India, making India the leader in drone applications in the future for sure. So before we come to the end of this webinar, I request anyone to have any concluding remarks that they would make before I pass it on to Varun.
Madam, I feel some one or two areas we need to pick up, for getting into the big time market. I see two low-hanging fruits. One is agriculture, one is logistic. These two areas have massive demand in drone applications from small to large. It can be complex small game within my farmhouse. I can do something, so I don't need too much of permission. So staying away from regulation, whatever we can do as captive in-house business in these two areas, I feel tremendous scope. Yes, logistics will need a lot of regulatory clearance, but there is a lot of genuine demand. Why do you want people, Swiggy guys, to drive their bike on the road and congest the traffic point, and the drone will come and deliver your food packet? So I feel this should be the reality, and it's not too far. This will definitely happen. And we should feel these two areas. If any other area anybody is able to visualize is better, but I am able to visualize these two areas as mass activity, and where drones can be very happily deployed and very conveniently deliver things to our satisfaction. And if this kind of demands are created and pushed up, so beyond this engineering, operation, everything, I would like to see drone application guys also, like sales guys. So they should be able to build applications and convince somebody, if this is the application where drone is the best guy to deliver. So the drone building case for best application should be also a profession. I feel professionally people will do that. Many smart MBAs are there. They will use their mind to position drone as the best alternatives. If we are able to position drone as the best alternative, doing all the basics right, then we'll have the market right.
Amazing. Thank you so much, sir. So I would request Varun from Electronic Sector Skills Council of India to give his concluding remark for this webinar.
Hi, Ruchi. Good evening to everyone, and really thankful to all the panelists, to all the esteemed guests that we have today, Shrikant sir, Nkim sir, Preeti ma'am. Thank you so much. I think it's really adding day by day to our knowledge as well. And today, a discussion that we had, we got to know a lot many other things like drone application. I mean, drone is a one subject which has a lot of variety and lot of content, data from drone application to analytics to data science, what Shrikant sir showed in his presentation. And it's not only about the controlled machine. I was reading an article just yesterday only where they were saying like drone will be a next smart machine where, it can have a sensors where it can take its own decision, like, when it goes beyond line of sight, and if it has to take a decision of landing. Nowadays it is being controlled by a pilot, but going forward probably the sensors, and by the virtue of knowledge that it will have, the intelligence that it will have, drone machine, it can take its own decision that where it has to land, what are the appropriate, depending upon latitude and longitude. So yes, I am really thankful to all the panelists and the knowledge which they have shared with us. I'm sure it will really help us in getting our vision enlightened, and what we really want to achieve from this webinar series that we have conducted. Like tomorrow we would be accomplishing our series, but I'm sure we would really like to have more insight from you all people. And like Preeti ma'am and Shrikant sir, we would like to extend our partnership with you, where the Center of Excellence which you people are talking about, ESSCI would also like to have the partnership in that, where we can also contribute in terms of skilling and whatever the demand and whatever the opportunity that we get, and we would like to have this in partnership with you. So thank you so much to each and everyone, and I'm really looking forward to our tomorrow's session, where we would be having people from government delegates. Like yesterday, we had panelists from defense sector, where they talked a lot about defense, drone and defense technology, and today from various corporates. So yeah, tomorrow when we would be accomplishing our knowledge, we would be sharing our thoughts to all of you, and we would like to make this process a continued process. Where we all can exchange our ideas every time and make this a new technology and make this more familiar in schools and colleges and other academies. Thank you so much to each and everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so
everyone.
much, everyone, for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.